Okay, we're going to learn this song by Tom Petty called Free Fallin. I'm sure you know it. And this is a song that uses a lot of suspended chords, and it's mostly the same thing for most of the song. So once you get it, you should be able to jam through the whole song. So we're going to start with the D major chord. So it looks like this, right? Eventually we're going to play with both hands, but let me get you going on the right hand first. So play 2 Ds. Okay, that's the beginning of the song. Okay, and then you're going to go to Dsus4. So the whole first phrase is D, D, Dsus4. D, D, Dsus4. That's the first part of the song. Okay, so it's really just 2 phrases. That's the first phrase. D, D, Dsus4. Okay, and here's the second phrase. You play that Dsus4 one more time. Back to D, and then Dsus2. So the second phrase goes Dsus4, D, Dsus2. So the first part goes like this again. D, D, Dsus4, just play that. Go ahead. Now the second part, you play that Dsus4 again, back to D, and then Dsus2. So it's D, D, Dsus4, and then you play that again. Dsus4, D, Dsus2. Try it one more time. Ready? D, D, Dsus4, Dsus4, D, Dsus2. Let's try it one more time. D, D, Dsus4, Dsus4, D, Dsus2. Nice. So get smooth at that. Just play along. All right. Now here's what the bass hand does. You're going to put your, let's forget about the right hand for just a minute. Put your pinky on the D. And you're going to play these notes. D, D, G. Okay, that's the first part. Try that with me. D, D, G. Now you're going to go G, D, A. This is this part. Ready? So D, D, G. G, D, A. Try it with me a couple times. D, D, G. G, D, A. Again. D, D, G. G, D, A. Notice how I'm just staying in a 5-finger hand position. D, D, G, G, D, A. And when you put it with this hand, it goes like this. So let's talk about how we do that together, because it takes a little coordination. You have D with the root and the bass. That's easy. The first part's really easy. Now, the next thing you're going to do is to play Dsus4 with the G in the bass. So you go. What is that? 2 Ds and a Dsus4 with the G in the bass. Just practice that. Now, the cool thing is the next thing you play is the same chord, but we'll get there in a second. So 2 Ds and a Dsus4 with the G in the bass. Just do it a couple times. Nice. Now, for the second part, you're going to play that same chord again. So Dsus4 with the G in the bass. Back to regular D. That's pretty easy. Now, the last thing you're going to do is play A in the left hand and Dsus2 in your right hand. That's the coolest chord, I think. Same chord. So let's review it again. Ready? 2 Ds and then Dsus4 with the G in the bass. Ready? 2 Ds. Dsus4 with the G in the bass. Then you play the same chord again. Back to D. And then Dsus2 with A in the bass. time. I'll explain it one more time. So 2 Ds, a D sus4 with the G in the bass. Then that same chord, back to D, D sus2 with A in the bass. 1, 2, let's practice together. Slower. D, D, D sus4 with G in the bass. Same chord, back to D. D sus2 with A in the bass. All right, practice that a bunch till it gets easy, then head on over to the assignment.